Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is that you're listening or watching this latest episode of Turfcast podcast with me, Joe Redmond, and as usual, my panelist. I think I need to reiterate that now because a couple of people called you a co-host this week, which I'm not happy about. It's not. You don't do anything. I do all the... Look at that. I do all the writing down. You literally just turn up and go, yeah, Burnley is shit. See you next week. So you're a panelist.
He says he does all this writing. I have never seen a pad before today.
Look back at last week's, mate. I've been doing it for 2 weeks. There you go. And normally I just do it on I just do it on notes anyway. Now I've got like a little setup because I work from home. I've started writing it down. So I've got something else behind me. I've got something there as well, and I've got my notes as well. But how are you anyway, panelist?
All good. All good, thank you, my fellow co-host. All good.
I can mute you. We will remove Simon from the stream. There we go. It's been good having Simon on. No, I'm joking. I'll bring you back in. And everyone saw the secret then, by the way. It always looks tardy when I'm on stream, doesn't it? But let's just point out again. I'll just quickly do it again. Look, it is not tardy. I got my washing there. I got some washing up behind me. Other side, that side, that needs doing. But when I bring Simon in, there you go. Tricks of the trade. You can't tell a jot. Been up to much, mate?
Nothing, just working as usual, sir. And obviously riveting news this week of transfer deadline and keeping my eye on it all. But
yeah. Well, riveting it was not. That we will get onto, obviously. Just a few housekeeping things. Obviously, it's the international break at the minute, so there won't be a match preview at the end of this one, so the podcast itself could be a little bit shorter. We don't really have too much. I know I say I write things down, but we don't really have too much of a running order. It is just a case of we say what we want and it goes on however long it goes on, so it might, because of the emotive issues of what we're doing at the minute with the transfer window and how terrible Burnley actually are on the pitch as well, we might end up chatting for a little bit longer. Who knows? We will get onto the international break though. There is still plenty to talk about and just more housekeeping stuff as well, the contractual housekeeping stuff. Please do check out our sponsors, Pitch Sport. They've been absolutely brilliant to us, been sponsoring us for about 6 months now. It's a brilliant app. If you just get onto the app, it's available on iOS and Android. It's sort of like a fan hub, as I say, every single week. You go on there, you have your say, you make your predictions, things like that. You can even answer questions, which I put up there as well. You can respond in writing, audio, or video. And as I've said before, if you respond in video, people don't tend to do it for some reason. I'm not really sure why. We've had one video response. Graham, shout out Graham if you're listening. But yeah, we've had one. But if you do it on video, that's one point I'm going to make. I can stick you on the VODCAST as well, should I say. So you'll make an appearance on the VODCAST on YouTube and live on Facebook on Friday night as well. And another thing about that, this week the quiz is returning. So if you are listening to this and you used to enjoy doing the quiz is returning this week. It will be on Friday at 7:30. So the VODCAST...
Simon Marus will be delighted.
Well, this is what's made me bring it back. Because Simon
Marus.
I were in Tesco with Simon Townley. I were in Tesco with Simon Townley the other day, and I said, "Where's Simon Morris these days? He don't comment on my streams or anything anymore." And he said that apparently he told Simon's wife about the quiz, asking if the quiz were coming back, and she said she didn't know. So he thought that Simon Morris had fallen out with me. Hopefully that isn't the case, Moretti Morris. The quiz, I thought, you know what, I'll bring the quiz back because a few people have been asking about it, that message in the page, and obviously Simon Morris has asked Simon Townley's wife where the quiz was. So I'm bringing it back because this week we won't be doing a watch-along because there obviously isn't a game to do a watch-along for. And however,
International quiz night.
International quiz night. What I was going to say is the VODCAST is normally on Fridays at 7:30 live on Facebook. I am going to still do it. I'll probably do it either Thursday night or Saturday night. I'm going to aim for Thursday night if I can get everything done. But I will be working, so it will be a case of setting the Premier and not doing it.
I think that the England match is on Thursday night.
There you go. It will not be on Thursday night. There you go. It'll be on another night. It will be on another, maybe Saturday night if it's not out of date by then. But yeah, who knows? I could even do a different stream, an extra stream during the week. We'll see. But yeah, I am doing the quiz. I'm doing the quiz because there's no watch along this week. So I'm just trying to basically get a stream out there, and a lot of people are asking where the quiz is. So it just makes perfect sense to bring the quiz back. One more thing I want to say before we get onto it. I have been accused on Twitter this week of being a negative page. That's fine. I don't mind that.
All right.
No, that's fine. I don't mind that because there's not a lot of positivity about at the moment for Burnley fans. So I don't really understand what we're supposed to do. Just pretend it's all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops when it isn't, because quite frankly, it isn't. So yeah, there isn't going to be a lot of positivity in this podcast either, unfortunately. So if positivity is your thing, turn off, because we're going to talk about some of the real things that are happening. Not just sunshine, rainbows and lollipops. Anyway,
I want to go back to episode 1 to about episode 1 to 12, where we always say, you'll get to know Joe. He's a negative one, a positive one.
Yeah, well, no one's positive at the minute. And if anyone is positive, then you can suck one, because what are you positive for? Anyway, we'll get on to the match. We do, as Simon you mentioned it off air actually, so that's irrelevant. We do a post-match reaction every single week after the match. It is on at the end of the watch along, but then I do clip it up and stick it out on YouTube anyway. So if you want to get our match reaction, a more emotional match reaction, shall I say, which is straight after the game, head over to YouTube. You'll find it on there. But yeah, Newcastle 3, Burnley 1. Simon, I will let you take the reins.
It weren't good enough, were it? Again, the defensive errors that you thought Tarky would sort of come in and fix it, still not been fixed. And there were no midfield. I mean, I hate to say this because I'm a massive fan of everyone in that squad, really. There's not many people I don't like in that squad. But I just think that the defence to attack completely bypass the midfield every time, and we are used to that with the long balls, but we always get the second balls, and we weren't even doing that. We weren't getting set pieces, we weren't getting throw-ins, we weren't getting second balls. So the creativity was a shambles in some respects. It just weren't clicking. I think that's a better way to say it. We're just not clicking at the minute. There's something missing.
I think at the minute there's too many passengers, too many pedestrians. I think Stevens has been pedestrian in both performances. Whether that's his fault or, like you say, the ball just bypassing the midfield, I'm not sure. But again, you just got to look at the fact that he's been here for 2 games. Then 2 games he's been very, very quiet, and we've been very, very poor. I don't necessarily think it's him that's the issue. I think it's Dyche decided to move Brownhill out wide. I just don't think Brownhill suits being out wide. He obviously is a lot better in the middle. I think Stevens and Westy are too similar. I've said it before. So I think we'll discuss that. I think I not necessarily want to slag Stevens off, because I do still feel a little bit sorry for the guy. He's just come in. He's coming at a poor time for the club when we're not doing very well. And there's a lot of negativity surrounding the transfer window and other things now, the poor start to the league. And he doesn't really know his fellow teammates that well. But what I want to discuss, a lot of people keep throwing blame at the board for certain things, and I agree the board have got a lot to answer for. We'll talk about the transfer window soon. But for this one, I think Dyche has got a lot to answer for, because I don't know why he's so persistent, and he gets stubborn with little things like this. Like he's done with Hendrick in the past, and he has done the main ones, obviously Joe Hart not bringing Eaton back in for so long when everyone just cried out for it. And I've got a worrying feeling now that Stevens in the middle might be the next Dyche stubborn I am right thing until it isn't right anymore and he admits that he's wrong. I'm a little bit worried. Get Brownhill in the middle. Brownhill is far more effective in the middle of the park than he is out wide. Even his brother tweeted it. Now, his brother's not going to slag him off, obviously, but I think it's fair to say that, obviously, if his brother's tweeting that, Brownhill will probably feel something similar. Put it this way, if you were the brother of a professional footballer, you wouldn't want to stick something out there that's going to screw him over. So, yeah, what do you think of that, Brownhill out wide and Stevens in the middle? I think it's a little bit of a strange decision for me.
Well, I can tell you now that the comments on the Facebook and etc. will be rolling in as this goes. I'll have on there, because I think it's not just us, it's not just the podcast listeners that probably feel this. It's the whole fan base feel this. This is a massive thing that we have missed Brownhill in midfield, and it's like he's not even on the pitch. Like you said, it's not a criticism to him, because I actually think he's amazing in midfield. We've loved his energy, his creativity, his drive forward the ball. However, on the right, he is a passenger, as you call it. He's surplus in some respects. He's just not. There's no point in being there. You might as well play a wing back, a right back in that position. We spoke about this before off air, but for me, if he wants Brownhill to be there, he's got nothing going forward to offer on the right. If he's not as good defensively on the right, I might as well just play a centre back or a right back at the right midfield, because otherwise, what are you using him for? So yeah, I've got a massive issue with that. Stevens again, possibly going to be a good signing. I do feel like it is time to bed in, but like you said, we're not really trusting him yet. But he needs to grab the game by the scruff of the neck. Say, give me that ball, and I'll deal with it.
Yeah, I think a lot of what Brownhill does, like you say, I think you said it on the post-match reaction as well. The midfield in the Newcastle game was pretty much bypassed. However, we weren't getting that second ball, and I want to go back to that, because it's a good point. I think maybe Brownell's probably a little bit better than Stevens at winning that second ball. Who knows? Because there's something now that is happening in midfield that means the midfield is pretty much not. It's not getting into the game. They didn't get into the game against Southampton. They didn't get into the game against Leicester, and they're the two games where Brownell has been out wide and Stevens has been in the middle. Like I said, I don't want to criticise Stevens because it's very, very early in his Burnley career. But like I said, you're creating two passengers now because Stevens has been a passenger in the middle since he's come in. And now Brownell's been a passenger out wide, and couple that with Dwight McNeil being a passenger since the start of the season, and then Nick Pope having a poor performance against Newcastle, and then Kevin Long, again, probably a bit, I wouldn't even call him a passenger, I'd just say he's been poor. I think there's a bit of a difference between being poor and being a passenger. I think that is probably why we're losing to teams as poor as Newcastle quite comfortably.
Yeah, the Long thing, I mean, it caused massive debates, and I'd like to see what everyone else's opinion is on this. But my opinion is, it is a foul. But unfortunately, I don't want my defender being pushed over that easily either. So irrelevant, if it is a foul, I don't want him being pushed over like that. I want him to stand strong. Wilson's probably a bit of a unit on the slide. There's a lot of players that don't look as big as they are until you see them in person. But he didn't really give him much of a clout. He didn't give him anything that made me think, fucking hell, ref, come on. Until I saw the replay and I thought, do you know what? Yeah, it probably is a foul, but still, at the point that happened, I didn't think it was a foul, and I think it should have been dealt with.
It's one of them, isn't it? I'm opposite. I don't think it's a foul. I think he needs to be stronger for me. However, I see your point, and I'll go back to what Jamie Redknapp said at half-time, him and Micah Richards. He says that, look, when you look at the modern game, when you see the things that fouls are given for, then stuff like that should be a foul. However, I get that, and I totally get that point. However, for me, that point should be irrelevant. I know it isn't, but it should be irrelevant because they shouldn't be fouls themselves. So then that shouldn't be a foul as well. For me, Long has got to be stronger. Like, we obviously speak a lot off air, and sometimes I think we shouldn't do that because then we forget to say certain things because we've already said it. But I think you said at the weekend like the pitch was wet, and it made me think, not making excuses for him because, like I said, I do think he should have been stronger. I think because the pitch is wet, that's what sends him down because his foot does give away from underneath him. He gets a nudge off Wilson, then the foot gives way underneath him. Now, what I think has happened there is he's set up as he would be set up normally. And if the pitch wasn't wet, then his foot wouldn't have slipped and it wouldn't give away underneath him. However, I do still think he should have been stronger. And I don't think, put it this way, I don't think Tarky or Ben Mee go down in that situation.
No, this is the problem that we have, and I mentioned it so many times that I'm sick of saying it, but our 11 is a unit, and with that unit, we are a successful team. But you start taking pieces out of it, and unfortunately, we just don't work together successfully. Even when you get a new player, this is why Dyche seems to take forever to put them in, because he probably knows himself that 11 just knows each other inside out. And it's like when you see the long ball from the wing backs to the striker. The striker's not actually trying to win that ball. He's trying to make the defender hit down to our midfield to pick up. That's the whole point of that play, and we're not even doing that at the minute. But I think that you said Ben Mee is absolutely missing. He's pivotal to that thing, just as Tarky is. Tarky's pivotal to it. We can argue who's the better player in private because we all know our opinions of it. But yeah, he is pivotal. We need that. You've also got Barsley, who granted he played the last 5 or 6 games, I think, at the end of the season. He's starting again. Lawton's injured at the minute. And then you partner that with the new person of Stevens, Brownell on the right. It's not exactly our first 11, let's put it that way. And if it is the first 11, it's not in the right order.
Yeah, I think I saw a tweet somewhere. So again, forgive me if this isn't factually correct, but we have 7 first-team players that would be in and around the squad or would be starting. Jay, Ben Mee, obviously Brady, JBG were both
Jay, massive.
Yeah, Jay's massive. Of course, I think a lot of people forget how our running form towards halfway through the first half of last season, so a quarter basically is what I'm trying to say, coincides with Jay coming into the team. Him and Wood work brilliantly up top. I don't think Woody and Barnes work as well. I think Jay is pivotal, but like you say, we've got Jay missing. We have got Ben Mee missing. Them two are 100% in the starting 11, as JBG is as well. I just think people forget about him a lot of times because he has been pretty much made of glass for the last season. Brady's going to be in and around it as well. Loughton's in and around it as well. Probably won't be starting at the minute. But again, Dyche does like to rotate between the two anyway, so the chances are he could have been starting for one of the games. Who knows? But yeah, there's a lot of first-team players missing. And as negative as we all are at the minute, and as I have been, and I've been accused of being, We need to remember that, I think, that when these first team players come in, they're going to be like new signings. No, I'm joking. I won't really say that. It's a different squad and a different 11, but that is where, in a minute, when we get onto the transfer window comes in, where you need to be strengthening the reserves, because the reserves are clearly being shown as not being good enough. Kevin Long, for me, I don't think is good enough. I actually prefer Jimmy Dunn. I'd rather have Jimmy Dunn in there alongside Tarky while Ben Mee is out, and that says a lot because Jimmy Dunn hasn't played a lot of Premier League football at all. But there are other worrying signs as well. We'll quickly go into them. Pope had a bad game against Newcastle, and some people, again, I know it happens. Some people have been giving him grief left, right, and centre. I think he's had one, maybe two bad games in his entire Burnley career that I can think of at the top of my head. I'm sure if people come back with examples, I might change that. But let's calm down. Pope had a bad game, especially the touch. The touch was an absolute shocker that gave the penalty away. But he's still a class keeper. But that is a little bit worrying for me that he's been poor. I'll be a lot more worried if he has a poor second game, though.
You know what, though, right? There's probably a lot more to that performance. Number one, your team in front of you is not playing unbelievable. Number two is Pickford's having an absolute stinker at the minute, and you've got an England game coming up. You're probably wanting to say, do you know what, I'm ready for that role. And he's took a risk at back pass. And Dash said himself, he's a professional, and he'll take it on board, I'm sure, and work forward from it, whatever Dash said. But I think if that England game isn't coming up this week, he'll just lever that. But I think he feels that he's probably got a chance of being in that first 11. And with that, you need to prove yourself to the Southgates, because he ain't picking Tarky, even though he's one of the best defenders, because he's not playing a certain part of his game. So I think that's another pressure on it. The team in front of you is not playing well, and it's not your defence in front of you. And we all know that goalkeepers like to orchestrate the defence. So if it's not the same one and you're not confident in it, you're going to probably do things that you're not normally doing.
Yeah, good point. I have read something in the Daily Mail today, and I think the Daily Express as well, that Southgate is going to pick some experimental sides coming up. So it's looking like Port will start one of the games, but they've not confirmed which one yet. But don't worry, I'll keep my eyes on everything like I always do, and as soon as I know, it'll be out on Turfcast as usual. Another one.
And he'll know that. And he'll know that.
Go on. Sorry, go on. Is that it?
He'll know. No, I was saying, and he'll know that. So if he wants to play,
obviously,
if trying to show so he can do it.
Exactly. If he's playing against Wales tomorrow, for example, no, it's not tomorrow, is it? When's it? Friday. In fact, he showed the England games on Friday. I think you're wrong there. Or is it? It's Thursday. Yeah, you did say Thursday. My bad. Yeah, tomorrow. As of now, we're recording. It is tomorrow. When you're listening on Thursday today, if he's playing against Wales on Thursday, he will already know about that, and he would have known about that for a couple of weeks. So yeah, that does add a little bit of pressure. But what I was going to say is that the Pope performance doesn't worry me because it's one bad performance. Dwight, however, that's three poor performances. Well, three pedestrian performances, I think. He's not been poor. He's just not getting into the game like we know he can.
Yeah, exactly. And that might be the build-up play. That might be the confidence levels. He's only a young lad, remember. He's not dealt with sort of... He's come into a successful Burnley team that only really has success in his time. You know, we've finished quite well in the times he's been here. His first year, he wouldn't have been arsed if we got relegated or promoted. But now it's like a serious sort of turning point, isn't it? Like, this is a proper test for him. And he'll learn from it. There's no doubt he's our best player on his day. So I've always said I like to see him in a number 10 role, but we don't play that way. But when we've got our backs against the wall, when we're 1-0 down, I feel like he takes it upon himself to come through the middle, take hold of the ball and start passing it left and right with Taylor overlapping, and it works so well. And I think I want to see him do that. And whether that's a confidence thing he's not doing, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be a confidence thing. I think, like you say, it might just not. I don't want to say not suit that role because he's done that. He's done well there before, but maybe there's more emphasis. You don't know what Dyche is telling him to do. For example, it could be a case of he's telling Dwight to defend more this time because for whatever reason, because he's on the right or whatever. But that's another thing I want to talk about. He's been on the right as well a lot recently, rather than on the left with Charlie Taylor. I think he was back on the left, however, at the weekend. But maybe it's just a little bit of the inconsistency of being out there and out wide and not really having a position to call his own. Or maybe Dwight is holding the back. Dwight. He's being held back by Dyche, is what I meant to say. Again, maybe now he feels his game's developed where he should be in the number 10 role. Who knows? It's one of them. But yeah, I think we're
carrying a lot of graft on that left midfield for someone so creative. And I think, like I mentioned it to you before, that if you put him in a Villa squad where he's got a bit more free reign in that midfield, a bit more sort of, he would shine a little bit more than what he's doing in this Burnley squad, because you have to work in this Burnley squad. And we love that as Burnley fans. We love the graph. We love anyone who can tackle. But like you said, when it's not going your way, then where's his part?
Yeah, it's maybe he's, like I said, it's one of them that he's not being let off the reins a little bit at the minute, and he was class when he came in. Like I say, it could be pressure and things like that. Now, obviously, sorry.
Do you remember when we had Trippier though, and Trippier had the same issue? Trippier in the Championship season were bombing forward, whipping balls in, and probably 80% of our goals, as ridiculous as it were, came from a deep cross from Trippier. In some sort of way. And then on the second part of his sort of like the latter part of his Burnley career, what about past the halfway line, if you remember? It was like he was told, right, this is your new role this year. And maybe like you said, Dash has given him a new role, but it happened to Trippier the same way. And then we ended up losing him to a bigger and better things. So let's hope that we don't lose Dwight to bigger and better things.
I think Dwight is one of them that will eventually go on to bigger and better things. I think if you want to play for England as much as he deserves to, and he should be doing, similar to Utaki, to be fair, then he's going to have to get a move, whether it's Leicester, Everton, whatever, or something like that. Or if we go down even somewhere like Palace, for example, because obviously he can't be playing in the Championship, Dwight. But that's one of them where we'll see. I mentioned it earlier. We'll quickly do it. We are sponsored by Pitch Sport. I do upload a question every single week. Now, if you remember rightly, we had issues with the question last week. It wouldn't let me in. And I said that I will read them out this week. Now, what's happened is the video that I have sent to them last week wasn't put up until yesterday, as in Tuesday this week at the time you're recording. So there's not been enough time for enough people to put their answer on that one. So I'm not going to read that one out yet. That one I'm going to do next week. So what I'm going to do this week is going to go back to last week's. Just quickly pause it before it starts reading out on the podcast. There we go. Where I asked, what did I ask now? Do you think Dale Stephens will be a good signing? Now, there's been a few, obviously, games since this, so a few people's opinion might have changed. But I think we said at the time, in fact, I'll tell you my opinion on it now and back then. I thought he was a good backup signing then. I've seen that he's probably going to be more of a backup, unfortunately. Maybe that'll change when JBG and Brady are back, like they might be after the international break, because they've both gone to play for Ireland and Iceland. But I do still think it'll be a decent signing. I just think he needs a bit of time. What do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, no, I've said it from day one. The player of 31 moving from Brighton, who's already sat on a bench, ain't coming up here to sit on a bench. And I felt that he was always going to be part of Sean Dyche's plans. And I'm not saying it's the right thing. I'm not saying that that's my opinion. I'm just saying that that's what I anticipated. I don't know how old he is. I just made up 31. I think he's 31. Is he 31? I don't know.
Sure. Not sure exactly. I think it's about that.
Yeah.
I seem to remember at the time people saying he's above 30. So he's there or thereabouts, 30, 31.
But yeah, so I think he'll be a good player. And I think, from what I'm hearing, he is a quality player. And people that have played against him have said that they thought he was a good player then, and he looks like a good player in training. I just think it's going to take him time to gel, because we're not a fucking normal squad. We're not a normal 11 Premier League. We play a different style of football to majority, if not all of the Premier League. So he's going to take him time to sort of get used to that, where he's come from Brighton, where they've playing some of the most attractive football I've ever seen from a club that size.
Yeah, well, it's one of them, innit, with Brighton. Obviously, they've started trying to play attractive football, and they're above us in the league, so at the minute. But it's one of them, they haven't started too well. I think they're just above the relegation zone. But it's one of them, like, they don't want him because he's surplus to requirements because of their new style of football, like you say. So it's one of them. Is he even good enough? But like I said, I think he is. But Robbo said he looks like a good, reliable signing that should fit straight in. The squad still needs future-proofing, though. He's obviously said that before the transfer window closed. Having said that, I will point out that obviously the EFL window is still open. Whether we sign someone or not is a different debate. Mark Howarth says he's a very useful addition, has Premier League experience, should fit in nicely. Price made it a no-brainer. I think that is a good point. That at £1 million quid, or 990 grand or whatever it may be, it doesn't matter. Even if he doesn't do well, it's £1 million to me and use a lot of money, but to a football club, it's not a lot of money.
No, it's unbelievable. I think it's a great bit of business.
For someone who's played that amount of Premier League games as well.
Yeah.
It's like Mark says, it's a no-brainer. Lewis Bowes says, very good signing, does nothing for the average age of the squad, though, but does add some much-needed depth and stability. And Nathan Rogers says, we've seen this sort of signing plenty of times now, and it very rarely doesn't pay off. It brings calmness, experience, good work ethic, and won't upset the group one bit. Good business all round for the price mentioned. So, yeah, Mark and Nathan making the point of it being pretty much cheap as chips.
Well, thankfully, the Premier League don't give an extra Europa spot for average age, so we're all right with that. We can, as long as we get the points on the board, then we'll be successful, as they say. But I think he's all right, mate. I think he's a good sided, and I know you're going to go into the transfer window, but I think there's things to come. I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I said, the video this week was late. Did you get a phone call then, buddy? Yep, he got a phone call. If you're listening on the podcast, his screen goes black on the podcast. That's how I know he gets a phone call. The next video is up on the Pitch Sport app now. It is already there. So if you're listening to this now and you want to answer the question, please feel free to pause the podcast or do it whatever you can. If you're listening in your headphones, you can do it. You can just get on there now and answer the question. This week, I want to know if your predictions from earlier in the season have changed after watching us in the first 3 games. Again, me and Simon did already answer this because it was meant to be there last week, but it's there this week. I said they have slightly because I was aiming for mid-table. Now I'm aiming for 16th, 17th, I think.
I think that we will still push on. I think that there's still a chance to finish in that sort of mid-table range that I predicted at the beginning, but it is made massively harder with the lack of transfers that are coming in. So my expectations have been dampened, but I still think it's an achievable thing with the 11 that we have. And we've done every season we have a blip, and I'm just hoping that this is it now.
Yeah, that's something my dad said on one of the comments, actually. He said, hopefully we're just having our blip now, because we do seem to have one every single season. And it's because it's the Premier League. It's the hardest league in the world, and you play some of the best teams in the world. All right, we've only played Newcastle and Southampton, but we have played Leicester as well. But even Newcastle and Southampton, they're good sides, man. Even though they might be around us most seasons or even below us, they are still good sides. There's no easy game.
Still got a good 11. Yeah, no easy games in the Premier League. Also, what we're the blip of the season, we just need to have that crisis talk. He usually waits for lost 10 games, has a crisis talk, and then it sorts it out. We'll just have it now, Dash. Please.
Yeah, have it now. The ones that are out on international duty, which I'll mention in a minute, by the way, the ones that are on international duty, just FaceTime them, Zoom them, get them all into the call, sit down, have your crisis talk, make some omelettes if you need to bring some EFL players in, and then go from there.
Happy.
Yeah, happy with that. If you are watching on the VODCAST on YouTube or on Facebook at a later date that I haven't decided yet, probably Saturday, and you see that I keep looking behind the screen, it's because I'm watching the Andorra England under-21s, which Dwight McNeil has started in. I've not seen much of him, though, to be honest, but I think the people that do the streams at Burnley Football Club have taken over the streams at England because the England team fucked the stream up. So I'm now having to watch on Andorra TV. But thankfully, obviously, I don't have any commentary on it. So it doesn't really make a difference, but it is stuttering about a lot. Just England having a corner now. Dwight's there on the edge of the 6-yard box. Ball in towards Dwight, flicks it. No, it's gone out. Anyway, I'm not doing live commentary. I'm not going to get into that. What I want to get into now is another emotive issue. The transfer window. Now, again, as I've just mentioned, I do want to point out there is still, a week, 2 weeks left where we can sign players on the EFL. And to be fair to Burnley, we do tend to sign players from the EFL rather than the Premier League. However, Daesh has come out and said he doesn't think there'll be any incomings, even with the EFL extension. But sum up the transfer window so far, just in one word, if you can. Not in one word. You have as long as you want, mate. Sum up the transfer window. I can't just put one word on you for that. In shambles. How would you sum up that transfer window?
Oh, you know what? It was a pandemic summed up in a fucking window, weren't it? Let's be honest. It was like all the shit that's gone on this year, and the whole world in football seems to have continued on with it in the Premier League, anyway. Sorry, but we just decided, no, we're massively affected by this coronavirus and this pandemic, and I just think we've fucking panicked and we've not done anything. It's not, what annoys me is it's not like they were even in their office at 11 p.m. with Jim White ringing them up saying, "What's going down, lads? You got any?" They'd gone home 3 days before that and said, "We ain't doing no, don't worry about it, lads." There was literally never a plan to bring a player in, it felt. But the EFL part, I think we have to, number one, we will do, hopefully, number two, business in that, because Dash can't come out and say, yeah, no worries, we know we didn't make any signings, but we've still got this sort, because then that's telling the message of you're desperate for players. So if he says to everybody, no, I don't think we'll do any business, then, like you say, clubs can't drive that price up if they don't think you're desperate for it. And even though we all know, and the whole world knows that we are desperate for it.
Yeah, maybe it's just me being ye of little faith, but I honestly can't see anybody coming in, even with the EFL extension. However, I don't know, just going back to the point of them not doing anything in the coronavirus pandemic, because a lot of people have said, oh, well, we don't have a lot of money and stuff, so, you can understand if the coronavirus pandemic has affected us. Everybody's in the same boat. And how many times do you hear Daesh come out and say, we are in a very healthy financial position? You can't now start saying, oh, well, coronavirus, because Daesh has come out since coronavirus and said, we are in a very healthy financial position. Don't you worry about that. We have plenty of money in the bank. And all right, I said it in different sort of words rather than plenty of money in the bank. But then at the same time, you got Garlic coming out saying, oh, we could go bust. So what's actually happening? Do people actually know what's going on? Does anybody know what's in the bank? Are people talking, or are Daesh and Garlic saying different things because of these reports are true that they're not even talking to each other?
Well, you mentioned it to me. There was an email going around where apparently Garlic said that there is money there. There's no one using it. I know it's only a rumour. I'm not saying he has said that. But I believe there's money there. I believe that the offer's on the table, whether it's a stubbornness of negotiations, whether it's Daesh that want a player, that's another argument. But I think the money's there. I do think we will sign people if that player wants to come to us right now, because we're that club that, when you say, oh, you won't go West Ham last year because they're going down, then they're in struggles. Yeah. That people will be saying that about us this year, and rightly so. And going on to the pandemic sort of, oh, we can't spend any money. You mentioned it to me before now, and I know you can't tell us everything, but you can tell us that the structure of Bradford City and the message that they send to their fans is far more organised, and they have far more communication than what we have, just from what you're telling me. And that's a League Two club.
Yeah, well, that's obviously a little bit of a different matter. Obviously, that I'm referring there. You're referring there to sort of because
I'm just saying how it filters through the message.
Yeah. A lot of people have always said Premier League on it, League Two off it. A lot of people have started changing that now to still stuck in the 1980s off the pitch, and I don't necessarily agree with that. But obviously, the point that you're making with Bradford City was the season tickets. Now, if you ask Burnley Football Club about the season tickets at the moment, they just say, we can't say anything until the Premier League decide what they are going to do going forward. However, what I think they should do is have full transparency, which is the word I like to use here, because at the minute you're looking at that football club and you haven't got a clue what's going on, whether it's at boardroom level, whether it's Sean Dyche and Garlic fighting,
that's my point.
Whether it's the season tickets, you haven't got a clue because there's no transparency. They don't have the mentality of, yeah, we will talk to the fans on a regular basis. All right, they might have these supporters clubs meetings, but the majority of his fans don't even get to go to them. Like podcasters, for example, don't get to go to them. The media don't get to go to them. They will speak to the media, but again, when they speak to the media, they will have an agenda, as they will do when they speak to the supporters clubs. But the example with Bradford that you bring up is obviously the Bradford are in exactly the same boat with season tickets. They're waiting for the EFL to make a decision, which the EFL and the Premier League will make the same decision. That they'll be told to make that decision by UEFA, FIFA, or the FA. They will make the same decision probably. But what Bradford do is, look, these are the 3 or 4 options that the EFL or the Premier League or football in this country will go down. If they do this option, Bradford City will do this. If they do this option, we will do this, that option, this, that option, this.
Yeah.
It's just a case of, we don't know because we don't know what the Premier League are going to do, so we can't tell you anything. But why don't you speak to the Premier League and find out what their options are currently, and then devise a plan and a strategy for them options, and then tell us what's going on. But again, like you say, it filters through, even when it comes to boardroom level. If they don't have the mentality of, we will talk to the fans, then they're not going to talk to the fans at any level, whether it's about season tickets, transfers, boardroom, or even Dyche or whatever.
So my point to this is, and you know me, so this is quite a big statement for me, even if it's not for everybody else. But I never want to say things that might sort of, because I kind of try and look on the sympathetic side of things and what would I do in that situation, etc. But in this scenario, I am asking someone from this club, Burnley Football Club, to reach out to you at Turfcast and give answers to not just Turfcast, to the fans, because you don't want to spend money in this transfer window, but you're taking thousands of pounds a month off fans to season tickets that we're probably not going to get to use this year. you're then making it sort of not hard for us to get, but complicated for us to get in some respects, because it's not everybody can get to the turf to go and claim the season ticket, and they won't do it over the forms. And then there's always a bit of a step you've got to go through process. Instead of just saying, we've took your money, here's it back. I want to know why they're taking all this money, give us the answers to it, and then you can't take all this money with no communication and then not be spending in the transfer window saying we've got no money. That's going to cause panic. Do you remember years ago? It's a completely different topic, but do you remember years ago when the banks were saying we've got no fucking money here? So everyone started pulling the money out of the banks. And then that's the message you're sending out to the fans. You're saying we've got no money, but we're taking your money off you, and that doesn't make sense for me.
Yeah, it's one of them, innit? I know a few fans have sort of like already come out on Twitter and said, "Oh well, if you're not spending any money, I'm not buying the shirt."
I've not seen them, but 100% I back it.
Yeah, but it's one of them, though, innit? Like, I don't necessarily mind them so much not spending money in the transfer window, but again, it's the transparency thing. If they came out and said, "Look, this was our strategy in this transfer window. This is why we haven't done what we did. We are affected by coronavirus. If they want to go down that route, that's fine. Just tell us what the crack is and stuff like that." And then again, tell us what's going on with the season tickets, because people want to know what's happened to their money. I think mine were 450 quid. I can't remember exactly. My dad's were 450 quid. That's just short of £1,000. That's 900 quid they've got of just two people. Like you, for example, I know obviously you have different sort of tickets and stuff, but if you had full price tickets, there's you, your dad, one of your lads, and your other best mate, by the way, I'll add that in, Robert. Yeah. Who sits with your brother as well, Jared as well. Obviously, they've all got tickets, so that's what, $2,500 there. That's $2,500 there. So that's just from two groups of fans. Not even.
And the reason I say I've got frustrations with the way that they structure it and organise getting your money back is I was in hospital at the time that the dates was given that you need to claim your money back by this. And obviously, as everyone knows, I was in hospital for like 4 weeks. So I've come out and not got it, but I've never heard a letter like you would do from the bank. If you didn't make a claim, they'd send you a letter saying, "Don't worry, you haven't made a claim, so we put it into your so-and-so account." But I don't even know where my money's gone. And I've been down to the club shop twice and it's been shut at like 3:00. So it's one of them. It's just always really complicated with Burnley Football Club. And in a small town, it should be as simple as just asking your neighbour. It's literally that. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than saying, "Can I have my money?" Yeah, no worries, I'll put it in now.
Yeah, it's one of them, innit? Obviously, just to give it a full rounded sort of like look on it, to be fair to Burnley Football Club, I know not everyone else is in the same boat as me because, like you said, it's been quite difficult for you. I literally just went down to the turf and said, "Can I have my refund on that?" They give it me and there it was done. So I did have a really pleasant experience with it. But not every Burnley fan is from Burnley. Look at Quilter, for example, obviously friend of the podcast on the watch along quite regular, new enemy of Johnny Tate randomly somehow. I don't know what's going on there, but... But anyway, he's a Burnley fan from Ireland. I presume he had to jump through hoops to get his refund. And like you said, it's probably gone on his Claret card. Now, he can't get to the club shop to buy the shirts.
They're probably not posted at the minute to Ireland for whatever reason.
They probably don't post to Ireland for whatever reason. Then it'd be a case of, you can't. I'm wrong. I'm just speculating here. So this could be wrong. So this isn't libelous. It is a complete speculation. They could just sort of like say, you can't use that money in the Claret store. It has to be done in store. And he'd be like, "Hey, but I'm from Ireland, you know." They're like, "It don't matter. Sorry, you're not from Burnley. It don't matter. We only think about fans from Burnley." And that, again, is another thing that I always go on about when they just don't market the fans. Sorry, they don't market the club to the world. They only market the club to the 75,000 people from Burnley. But again, it's just all the incorrect sort of like ways that they do things and stuff, which we've kind of gone on a bit of a tangent here because we were talking about transfers and now we're talking about fucking season tickets and fans not from Burnley.
But we ain't got the thing is, then the club can listen to this hopefully and give us an answer back to it, because we're talking about this now because transfers are saying they've got no money. We made no signings, so where's our money going? That's what we want to know. Yeah,
people get when you say you don't have any money or you do stuff that makes it out like you don't have any money, like not buying any people, should I say?
People want answers.
People want answers, and I know Garlic sometimes speaks to the Burnley Express or the Lancashire Telegraph. Are they still going Lancashire Telegraph? I don't know. Lancs Live and the Athletic. So he might do when the EFL transfer window shuts, and that might be his way of being transparent to the fans, or he might put a statement out there. I think they should put a statement out there now, I'm being perfectly honest, to give full transparency of what's gone on. That's the word that I'm going to keep using, transparency. We need to be able to look into that football club and see why they are making the decisions they are making, why they are doing the things that they are doing, why they aren't doing the things that they are doing, should I say. You need to know what's going on, because it's our club, more so than it is some of theirs who work there, you know what I mean? But yeah, all the people that work there will probably know what's going on. but yet the fans don't. It's a strange one.
No, like I said, I don't normally come out with comments like that, but.
No, just going back to the transfer window, though, I have got a couple of articles up on the new monitor behind me. So I just want to make a point of, yes, we were called negative this week, but then the person that called us negative said, "Oh, to be fair, you're back. You are speaking for the majority of the fans here. Everyone's sort of agreeing with you." Well, exactly, because there's nothing to be fucking positive about. But it's not just me. It's not just Simon. It's not just our followers who are agreeing with us. Obviously, Chris Borden, who's been at the Burnley Express for when I was in year 11, I'd have been 16. I did some work experience at the Burnley Express then. Chris Borden was there then. I am now 31, nearly 32. Chris Borden is still there. So he's been there a long time covering Burnley Football Club. So when he speaks, I know a lot of people will give him grief because he's a journalist and it's just fashionable to give journalists grief. But even he's pretty pissed off with the way that things have gone so far in this transfer window. He says, when it comes to Burnley's shopping in the transfer market, it has usually been more Alde than Waitrose. But throughout the international window, which closed on Monday night, the strategy was more like people admit to go into the shops for a specific item, but then come home without it. Or even worse, forget to go shopping altogether. The Clarets have until 5 p.m. on October the 16th. There's the deadline for the EFL clubs. And the Championship is usually their favourite marketplace. So we can reassess the club's business a week on Friday. However, as things stand, amid all the clubs being graded with all various media streams and how they performed over the window, you struggle to give Burnley even 1 star out of 5. And then he goes on to say other sort of things, like there remains a long list of players whose future is up in the air, out of contract in the summer. Jack Cole, Matt Lawton, Johan Berg Gudmundsson, Robbie Brady, Blaine Phil Bird, Phil Barsley, Kevin Long and Jimmy Dunwell, Jay Rodriguez, Eric Peters and Vidra are all out, although there is an option for an extra year in the club's favour with that trio. So it's going slowly, tits up. We're not bringing anybody in, and the players that we have got in are out of contract soon. So we're all it's going a little bit pear-shaped. But if there's still the fans out there that want to bury their head in the sand and say, oh well, if you spend too much money, you'll end up playing Leyton Orient again to stay in the Football League. You got to remember where we come from. Shut up. That was 1987. I wasn't even born.
My argument with that is, if you want to stay in the Premier League and you don't want to go, you want to think it, you've got to move forward, because if you stand still, you get left behind, right? It's as simple as that. If you get stand still, like we have done this season, we will get left behind. And then the Orient days will be back, regardless of men spending money, because the clubs will pull the money out, the board will pull the money out, and then you're back to the Orient days, you're back to the League One days or Division 2 as it was, and you have to spend money. You can't just hide it.
It's all well and good, people sitting there and going, oh, we're a small town club. That's another narrative that pisses me off, by the way. We're punching above our weight. That's another narrative that pisses me off, by the way. Yes, we are a small town club, and yes, we should embrace the fact that we are a small town club amongst the big cities in the Premier League, but we should embrace the fact more that we are competing and have proven that we can compete and can continue to compete if we follow the model that we were doing a few years ago, which was buying players, younger players, and selling them on for bigger fees and stuff. For some reason, it's not something we want to do anymore. We don't even want to buy anybody. But the point I wanted to get to before I started just getting annoyed again is some people say, oh, what do you expect us to do? Spend 50 million quid and go bust? Number one, if we spent 50 million quid, we wouldn't go bust. Number two, no, nobody's asking us to spend 50 million quid. If we'd have spent 10 million quid on 5 million players, the mood would be a lot better. If we'd have spent 20 million quid on 4 players or even 2 better players, it would be a lot better. But you need to speculate to accumulate. You need to spend money to stay in this league. Else, like Simon says, you are just going to get left behind, which is what has happened this season. Southampton have improved. Villa look absolutely brilliant. I know that's a different example because they do have a lot of money. Leeds are spending money. Again, that's a similar story.
Spent it well.
Well, this time it looks like they spent it well, yeah. But we did say that last year. But I do think this year they're going to top 10 Villa for me. But even Sheffield United signing Ryan Brewster, that's a club that is very similar. I know, again, people go, oh, they got backers, but they're not throwing money at it. They spent 27 million quid on Brewster. Yeah, it's a decent amount of money. Sorry, we're at 23, 27, I can't remember. But it's a decent amount of money. But it's not the amount of money that we cannot stretch to. It's the money that we should be able to sort of like push out the ball, because apparently we're in a very healthy financial position. So it's mind-boggling. I
just put a blasé tweet out about Wilshere being a freak and we afford him, and people were that mixed on that. Like most people were saying, I was thinking that, and then there was quite a big chunk of it still saying, "Oh no, we don't want him. He's too injury prone. He costs too much. He does this. He does that." Well, Welbeck, same argument. He's on £100,000 a week, just been released from a Championship club. Now we don't want to get to that point, but they're spending money and they're still in the Championship because they've made the wrong signings or what have you. But their players getting released now, and you just think we're still not even investing. We're going to save. They're saying we don't want to spend the wages on that. That's absolutely fine. If you don't think Wilshire's a good enough player, that's a different argument. My argument is if you're getting him for free, you can afford £60,000 a week because you're saving 10 million on transfer fees that you would have had to buy Wilshere for a year ago. So it's a silly argument for me that we can't afford someone's wages when they're free.
And people will come out and say, "Oh, you don't want to upset the apple cart," but I think players are intelligent enough to sort of like say, "Yeah, I got a fucking £5 million signing on bonus. This guy hasn't." What else were I going to say then? You were talking about, well, yeah, that's it. And I know that we always have this attitude for some reason of, "Oh, he's not good enough for us." But yeah, we're not bringing anybody in, so he has to be good enough. Johnny Evans, perfect example. When he was available a couple of seasons ago, when he left West Brom, I think it was, Burnley fans like, "Johnny Evans, he's washed up, he's old, he's not good enough." He's gone into Leicester and he has been fantastic. He would have fit alongside Ben Mee or Tarky, if Tarky left, brilliantly.
Joey Barton weren't even at his fucking prime when we got him. He were past it, if I'm honest with you, but he played unbelievable in our system. And some players just fit in our system and others don't. And I don't think Wilshere would have been a bad signing if we could have.
No, well, it's still available, so it's one of them. I think the perfect scenario with Wilshere will be he knows that he is made of glass. He knows that clubs will worry on taking a risk on him. Of course they will, and a club of Burnley's size will probably worry even more. So he'd probably be up for pay as you play. I'm sure he will, but I know his agent.
Maybe, but Joe Hart, we keep using this example, but they paid him a fucking lot of money when they knew they weren't going to use him.
Exactly.
So
but Ash ended up using him a lot, probably because of that. Who knows? Again, that's something we'll never know about. But it's not just me. It's not just Chris Borden. It's not just Simon. Friend of the podcast, Alex James, has also done a similar article this time around. And Andy Jones has done one as well. But if you're listening, Andy, which I know sometimes he does do, so shout out to Andy for listening. Apologies for not reading out one of yours. I can't log into Athletic for whatever reason, and I haven't run out. It's still going, so I'll try and sort that at some point. But anyway, Alex James at Lancs Live says, Burnley chairman Mike Garlick has always said that the Claret's aim going into a transfer window is to be stronger coming out of it than they were going into it. This cannot be said this time around. The Clarets have added just goalkeeper Will Norris and midfielder Dale Stevens this summer, and despite Sean Dyche calling for action 10 days ago and admitting after the defeat to Newcastle a few days ago that the squad is one or two players short, yet Burnley have not sufficiently bolstered the squad, and it is clear it is in need of reinforcements. But let's not paper over the cracks, because he goes on to talk about some positives after that. Let's not paper over the cracks, and they are more than cracks. We are in subsidence territory. So it says if Burnley was a house, it's a family home with a fair bit of work needed on it. The grass is too long, the back bedroom's a mess, and it doesn't have double glazing. And all the other around the street, the 19 properties are getting extensions, conservatories, and manicured gardens. And I quite like that analogy. I think it's quite good. Are you messing with your leg brace there, young
Sorry,
sir?
mate, yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very loud. Apologies if you've got headphones on. But I know I said this one could be a little bit shorter. It's ended up being probably one of the longest of season 2 so far. But is there anything you want to add before we go, Simon? We've tried to put the Burnley Football Club world to rights. A lot of people will probably think we're morons. I think we're talking shit. Hopefully, a few of you agree with us. Feel free. I'm always happy to get people to message the page, get their opinion across. I'll always read them out next time around. If you want to come on the podcast, you can always send me voice notes and things like that, or even come on some live podcasts in the future and stuff like that. We have a Discord channel that again you can come on through Discord via the voice channels on there if you know how to work Discord and things like that. So we are always up for getting your opinion on matters, and stuff like this is a very emotive issue. So don't just use the Pitch Sport app. Please use that as well. But also, if there's something that we haven't asked on the Pitch Sport app and you want to talk to us about, just message the page. But like I said, sorry before I digressed. Is there anything you want to add? Anything you want to talk?
No, all good, mate. Thanks for having us.
Happy days. Well, that's it from us then. Just short of an hour this week. Hopefully that keeps you entertained through the international break. As mentioned earlier, the quiz is back this week. It will be back on Friday at 7:30 p.m, I think I said. live exclusive to Facebook. I will probably put it up on YouTube afterwards, but it won't be live on YouTube. It's just live on Facebook. So if you haven't liked us on Facebook, please do already. Like us on Twitter, Instagram, and subscribe on YouTube. We're nearly at 150 subscribers, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. But yeah, that's it. Like us on all social media channels. Join the Discord channel if you can. England under 21s are currently getting beat to Andorra. That will be out of date as soon as that will be out of date as soon as this goes out. So I don't even know why I've said it. Just open it up and it's a bit of a shocker. But yeah, thanks for coming on, Simon, and we will see you for the quiz on Friday night.